Good day, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Viper of Viperland, and we're back with Umineko. Also, hey, Grim and Birdie and Ramen, how y'all doing? Congrats, Ramen, for your 66-month modding anniversary. Hot damn. Hope everyone's doing good, having a good weekend, or had a good weekend, since it's basically over. But it's not over before Umineko. So let's continue episode 1. At one point we'll hit episode 2, but you know. Look. At no point did I expect speed when I picked up this game. And hey, Ark, how's it going? Welcome to Viperland in the chat. And tell us all the data they've been tracking. Yeah, it's just the ones that, you might want to celebrate. That's it. That's fine. As I started losing heart, I began to recall a memory from when I was small. It was from when I was very young. I had unfortunately seen a scary occult movie on TV. For a while, I hadn't even been able to go to the bathroom by myself. That old bastard gave an exaggerated laugh and said this. Hey, Battler. Why do you think they go to all the trouble to make movies like this about demons and the occult and such? It's because they don't exist. Something that ridiculous can't be found anywhere on the planet. Because they don't exist, people want to see them and go to a lot of effort making them. That's why those occult movies just make me laugh. If I were forced to choose, I'd say rather than demons and monsters, this year's earnings call an angry wise are 100 million times scarier. Well, if you were a better businessman and less of a horn dog, maybe, those wouldn't be so terrifying to you. Maybe. Also, hold on, not better. Oh well, problem for later. Yeah, no, these are problems of his own making. I'll go further, okay? From my point of view, getting scared is a recreational emotion, something for people who've got room to relax both in their hearts and their lifestyles. So is he just complaining because he's bad with money and too busy running away from angry wives and husbands? It's still a problem of his own making. They had so much free time they didn't know what to do with it. So in order to entertain their mind with unusual emotions, people started creating a culture with demons and the occult and stuff. You might have more free time if you were better at business. Maybe. Then you could enjoy horror too. You heartless bastard. Seriously, why have I been acting so damned thick-headed? I was totally taken in. Don't try to mess with me. This is the human world. I don't give a damn about witches, demons, magic circles, and sacrifices. The human who killed Dad and everyone else is still on this island. That's all there is to it, right? The next person who started speaking to my heart was curious on. Productivity maxing, yes. Yes. Lots of free time now. Yeah, I suppose. I don't know if they show horror movies in the afterlife. I feel like it would kind of lose a bit of its impact to show a ghost story to someone who's dead. But, you see in both chess and shogi, if you just spin the board around, your opponent gets really mad at you. Like, it really infuriates them if you just keep flipping the board around every time somebody makes a move. When you reach the very, very last stage of the game and get closer and closer to cornering your opponent, the number of optimal moves you could possibly make gets smaller and smaller. Therefore, if you're backing someone against the wall, or someone's doing the same to you, both players' moves become infinitely easier to read. In other words, when you're completely cornered and you think you have no moves left, that is the moment when it's easiest to read your opponent. However, when a person is forced into a defensive position, they can't help but lose their ability to think clearly, so they aren't able to get their minds around their opponent's moves. Yeah, I know. I've gotten to the end of a Phoenix Wright trial. I'm aware. But this is nothing I don't know. Seventh chessboard flip, yeah. That's when you spin the chessboard around. Imagine you're like 3 moves away from check in freaking a long game of chess and your opponent just sits there and spins the board 180 degrees. Like, what do you do? Like, obviously not like a ranked competitive match, because I'm sure there's rules against that. But I mean, like, in a casual, just, you know, playing chess with the homies. Like, what do you do? It's just so good. You lose the game, I guess. Yeah, exactly. With all my strength, I slapped my face with both hands. Now my eyes were truly open. When you don't understand anything, and you're completely cornered just like I am now, isn't that the perfect time to spin the chessboard around? While on the defensive, we can't even guess at the culprit's scheme. If we spin it around and look at it that way, just what might we see? It just grabs a knife, starts stalking people through the hallways, you know. Oh, this pottery making this? Oh, absolutely, yeah. The Lazy Susan chessboard. I do like the pottery making one, because you could spin that one really fast and get it really cooking. Also, hey, Ponchi, how's it going? Welcome to Viperland in the chat. Hope your weekend's going well. Therefore, first off, at the time the culprit committed the murders, they knew the island was being cut off by the typhoon. Therefore, they should have understood that even if they carried out the murders, they wouldn't be able to get away early the next morning. In short, the culprit had begun without securing a way to escape. Furthermore, that bastard tossed the corpses in the storehouse. Then was even kind enough to say, hey, here they are, with that weird bit of graffiti. In other words, since we'd probably find the corpses sooner or later, they wanted to show them to us. If we'd all been dim and hadn't noticed the storage shed, the culprit's goal would not have been achieved, would it? If you think about it this way, that bastard of a culprit, since this morning they must have been watching our every move with bated breath. After all, if we hadn't been so kind as to discover what was in the storehouse, all of that hard work and preparation they did last night would just have gone poof. What did the culprit want to make us feel by showing us the corpses in the storehouse? All 6 of the bodies had their faces noticeably destroyed. Was it a grudge? No, the grudge. A warning? The defacement of the bodies had occurred after death, so it hadn't been the means by which the culprit had killed. It didn't mean anything to those who had been killed. I know they made a Grudge 2, and I know I saw the Grudge 2, and I don't remember anything about the Grudge 2. Like, at all. I feel like of the iconic, like, the something, specifically Asian horror movies from that time period, the only one that got a sequel that was really good was The Eye. The Eye was pretty good, but in my opinion, The Eye 2 was better. It's the only one where I was like, nope, sequel, they actually improved on stuff. Not that most of them were bad, but, you know. I saw X-movie tweets. Oh, that reminds me, I saw a great tweet yesterday, a sentence that makes perfect sense, but is also an insane sentence. Norman Reedus has started watching the anime Chainsaw Man because it was highly recommended by Hideo Kojima. Which checks out. Kojima would love Chainsaw Man because he's a movie buff, and the mangaka is a huge movie buff for Chainsaw Man, and it's good. And we know Norman Reedus and Hideo Kojima are clearly close friends, so it all makes sense. But it's still a crazy sentence. Like, it's still bananas. It did have meaning to those who found the bodies. No, he's watching the anime, so the best he could do is catch up to Potts, currently. It's old and Kojima's old. Chainsaw Man's not that old? I mean, it's not recent, I guess. It ended recently, but... yeah, no, I guess it's not, like, new. It did have meaning to those who found the bodies. The culprit wanted to make it appear that they had been killed so brutally. Oh, the mangaka's older. Okay, gotcha. Ha! After thinking this way, I really want to tell the bastard to stop taking me so lightly. I'm so glad that Battler went from, oh my god, I'm traumatized, my dad and my stepmom are dead in front of me, I'm scarred for life, to, how dare you take me so lightly, I see through all your plans. It's been like 10 minutes. Flip the chessboard once. Yeah. I mean, I do need to start and finish part 2. I do have a website for it now. I didn't for a bit, so I do need to do that. That's been on my to-do list for a ways. I've just been lazy, but I really have to. Who just danced to that tune? If you're told, please be scared, you can't just say, really? Sure thing. When someone tells the great Ushiromiya battler, the entrance is right here, I'm the kind of guy who'll start wanting to sneak in through the window. Must be really fun at parties or guest houses or just anywhere. Just anywhere. Oh, hey, this is my house. Yeah, I'm going to shatter your window and climb in that way because I've seen the door. Battler's a joy. Look, he's great if you're like 12 because he'll be your best friend and try to make you laugh. Past that, I don't know. The next thing that had me concerned was that so-called magic circle on the shutter. As Maria, who has shown that her knowledge of the occult rival grandfathers, had recognized, that magic circle was genuine. They must have drawn that thing in pitch-black darkness, taking a lot of time and holding an umbrella in one hand. Isn't that amount of hard work and perfectionism impressive? He has his moments. Oh, I'm sure, yeah. But also, I feel like his overall vibe is definitely not one of somebody I'd want to spend an extended amount of time with. With the mind of a 12-year-old. Yeah. I feel like, short of his, I'm going to climb through the window, I bet you he is fun at parties. But I don't think he'd be a lot of fun outside of that setting. I think the second you try to have, a quiet moment with friends, and, yeah, it's true, they're all just rich, money-obsessed people. So you're right, I wouldn't. But we don't know what's going on in everyone else's head, whereas we know that in his head, he just found dead people and went, you take me too lightly, you fool. I wish I could tell the culprit. Ah, you'll never beat me. Come on. That's a little... you're right. I don't want to spend time with any of these characters, though they are interesting in a game setting. He's just front and center right now. What purpose would have been worth all of that effort? If we were looking for a fan of the occult in this mansion, most likely all of us would naturally suspect Grandfather. Did they want to make us think Grandfather was involved? It's seen the universe, yes. But if that's all they wanted, they could have just drawn any old scribble that looked like a magic circle. It wasn't like any of us amateurs would be able to tell the difference between genuine and fake. I was 56 now. Yeah, I imagine very little has changed. I imagine he's probably got grayer hair. No, he's rich. No, he doesn't. Slightly more wrinkles. Maybe slightly worse posture. I imagine that's about it. Oh, that's true. I don't know. Did I mention that Friday at Magic I actually went 2-1, which I usually don't do. I usually go either 0-3 or 1-2. But I went 2-1. I got a round 1 bye. I got whooped in round 2, and round 3 I defeated a child. But he was a bit of an ass. He was kinda not the worst. He wasn't the worst. But he wasn't great. So I didn't feel particularly bad about it. So, yeah, so that was, speaking of, I think for now I've had enough of, children in my life for the moment, for the weekend, just... He's the type of kid that, I was in the middle of my second round with my opponent, and, it was close. We were each 1-1. It's it was the game that was going to determine who won that round. And we were both really studying the field, our cards, thinking about stuff. And I just hear, got any trades? Got any trades? And I thought he was talking, there were tables behind us, so I just figured he was talking to somebody there. I didn't, look. Got any trades? He asked 3 times before my opponent's like, We're in the middle of a game. And he asked one more time. My opponent was like, you have to stop. Like, technically it was like 9:30 p.m. So it was night trading. But, like, that kind of kid. The kind of kid who, during the draft, bragged that we were all going to lose because he drafted 4 lightning bolts, which is not in this set. It's not in this set. Like, it's physically impossible. Unless he was cheating. Which, to be fair, he did not appear to be cheating. But just like that type of, like, he definitely was in, like, the 5th, 6th grade and hitting the, like, I want to lie about shit to sound cool. Definitely, like, loudly swore a few times during our game. Not at the game, but, like, just to give you a picture of, like, the kid. But, yeah. Yeah, like, I wouldn't say Chunibyo, because that wasn't it, but definitely the, I'm trying to sound cool by lying and swearing. And, like, I get that a 5th, 6th grader would think that. That's not how the world works. And most of us kind of, like, it was fine. He definitely bothered everyone else more, but, like, I don't know. I've had my nephew, I was around with my nephew growing up. I've gotten used to the smile and nod, it's fine. But I didn't feel guilty about beating him. Is the point. However, this magic circle was genuine, and furthermore, it had even been written in Hebrew, so this magic circle had a message. It could only be understood by someone with knowledge of the occult. A message is a form of communication. People die if they're killed. Just, we got back-to-back visual now. Oh, not back-to-back. I played Witch in the 100 Night in between, and the Holy Night between. But, we got Fates, people die if they're killed, and we have Umineko's, a message is a form of communication. Money can be exchanged for goods and services. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. I do like Viper Tobagadachi. I mean, I'm biased as hell, but I also like him anyway. But, yeah. Hell yeah. It's a shame you don't like him. He can be annoying, for sure. I like him visually and conceptually. The fight itself is fine. In Wilds. World. It's not in Wilds. By sending it, they were hoping for a reaction. A reaction is when something causes... For some reason, we couldn't find Grandfather now. I don't know how Grandfather might have spotted the magic circle on the shutter. But did he choose to hide himself in reaction to that? React content. The Final Fantasy V reference? Is it really? Damn. I have not played Final Fantasy V, but I really do want to just sit down and grab the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters and just go through them one day. Even though I actually technically could just charge my Vita and go through them at any point, because I have the OG, not Pixel remasters, all on my Vita, up to 10.2. Literally, Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10.2, all on the Vita. So, like... Anything else is going to be interesting. Hope it's something cool. Or tags of 5. Damn, alright. Here's the Dragoon. Dragoons are always cool. The Vita looks better, probably, yeah. But we'll see. Like, I'll have choices. The thing is that my Vita's old. It doesn't hold a charge very long. It's a small screen. What I need to do is I need to get a PS3 controller so I can use my PS TV to play it here. I could even stream them. Like, or I could play Dissidia, Duodecim on stream. But I need a PS3 controller. It doesn't work with a PS5 apparently. So that's an annoyance. I don't currently have a PS3 controller. No, was it a trap to make us suspect that Grandfather had participated? You can read it either way. Damn, that's annoying. What kind of reaction was the culprit hoping to get out of us by putting on this occult show? Does he actually have proper games after that? Look, while I am depressed all the time that Dissidia did not get quality non-gacha titles after Duodecim, man, we got Duodecim, which is pretty great. So, somehow that felt like the culprit's weak point. The letter from Beatrice that Maria had read aloud during last night's dinner sprang back into my mind. This was a freak... If I had a Steam Deck, or Stream Deck, which I don't, that's fine. I've never really, like, wanted one, or otherwise would have grabbed one for myself. But right now, if I had a Stream Deck, I would have a dedicated button so that every time Beatrice was on, like, was typed out, I just hit the button and we'd have Beatrice, the whole... Just, but, like, not loud, very, like, subtle in the background, quiet. I should, but I'd have to like balance the audio, so it was like, because I like the idea of just like, anytime it is even thought, wherever he is, somewhere in the mansion, it's just yelling it loudly through the walls and everything. Yeah. Well, the one thing we've confirmed, Pachi, is this house must have this mansion must have some soundproofing. Because, yeah, the amount of screaming he did just kind of right up the stairs from the dining hall is insane. Like, this must be the most soundproof mansion in the history of ever. I will see if I can grab a Beatrice or two and make that. Even if I just keep it at one. I just like the idea of a really low, faded here through everywhere in the house. Hopefully for next week. If not, remind me and I will do that. Oh hey, it's a magical girl. In fact, the best magical girl. Clearly. Magical girl, technically. I forgot I put in the subtext on that one. Congrats on the good fishing sword. This is a freak who'd asked us to enjoy a battle of wits. That's probably a good idea, yeah. Because we all know how Google like to do. Technically, yeah. Isn't that interesting? This is a battle of wits between us and the witch. We will be sucked up by her occult... Will we be sucked up by her occult game first? Or will we pull off her fake skin first? There's a whole day until the typhoon passes. Why not enjoy ourselves? You know, the ones who aren't dead. I finally noticed that the inside of the parlor had gone quiet again. Everyone had sunk into their favorite sofas, some deep in thought. Some irritated, some acting depressed. I don't know if... Look, you just found a bunch of dead people. I don't know if they're acting, dude. Just because you bounced back quick, I wouldn't go saying they're acting. Maria was once again enjoying the TV as if she'd never left it. It looked like she found the commercials more fun than the boring program, and she happily yelled, "Ooh, ooh," and giggled. I stared at each person's appearance in turn. If there isn't a 19th person, the culprit must be in this room. It's definitely the doctor, because he's just been pushed too far as not a member of this family. Or the head waitstaff guy. For the same reason. For the exact same reason. It's just like, at least the family gets money and stuff out of this, technically. We ain't even a part of this, and y'all crazy. Nah. Shanking people. Yeah, exactly. Right now, Aunt Natsuhi's searching the mansion with the servants, right? I mean, it makes sense it would be blustery here. There is a typhoon. The mansion is old. It makes sense that when it gets that windy, even the smallest little like crack that you wouldn't notice normally would just start whistling. Excuse me. Then we shouldn't say in this room. In this mansion is where the culprit has to be. After all, it's possible Aunt Natsui was behind this. And we still can't deny that one of the servants might be the killer. Anyone could be guilty. Still, Aunt Natsui and the rest sure are taking their time. Of course, it's not a small mansion, but isn't this taking a little too long just to walk around checking the windows and doors? Just as I was thinking this, Aunt Natsui and the rest returned. Not one of them was missing. But our relief was short-lived. Everyone looked at Aunt Natsui in shock. The talk I'd had with Aunt Ava started to creep back into my mind. The possibility that the culprits had enough in numbers or weapons to kill all those 6 at once. Hello? Shotgun? Forgive me if I've startled you. Like, yeah. I brought this to be prepared for the worst. Cool. After all, that thing in Aunt Natsui's head was a rifle. Is it? They definitely... Okay. I don't know. I'm not a gun guy, but I feel like that looks more like a shotgun than a rifle to me. But I'm not a gun guy, so I don't care. At a glance, its silhouette looked like that of a hunting gun. But it was unusually short and kind of looked like a kid-sized weapon. Oh. Even more, it sounds like a shotgun. Wants to give me a headache this time. However, it had a weightiness to it that made it clear it was no kid's toy. That gun is Kinzo-san's, isn't it? Did you know about it? That's right. I remembered it was in Father's old collection and I managed to find it. Whoa! Awesome! Natsui-san, is that thing real? Yes, it's real. It can fire live ammunition. Is it loaded? Long ago, Father used to scare away wild birds. There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. Firecrackers? A scarecrow? Like... Yeah, it's definitely got the, like, lever on the bottom. Whatever works, I guess. It takes me back. Damn pigeons! Where did you find that thing? No matter how much I asked him to let me touch it, he never let me lay even one finger on it. Yeah, it's a gun! It's good, actually. Oh. Grandfather had one of these? I didn't know that. Long ago, Grandfather was really addicted to cowboy films. Oh. Okay, that checks out. That generation really liked this kind of rifle. Is that a Winchester? Yes, it's Dean. But I've never seen one that short before. I said, it's Dean. I remember, it's that gun. That really takes me back. That's the one Steve McQueen fired off in Wanted, Alive or Dead. Father sure has good taste. An item that Master ordered specifically from America long ago. As you can see, it is a working gun, so please don't tell anyone about this. Tell who? Who are we gonna tell? When the cops get here? Steve McQueen, yes. It is. Look, could be worse. Could be Lightning McQueen. You're telling me Herlock Sholmes was the better option? Honestly, I think the more obvious it is, the better it is, the funnier it is. He was quite fond of it right after he managed to acquire it. It seems the workings that ejected the cartridges were more interesting to him than shooting it, and he played around with it back in the forest all the time. Coffee brewing company called Steve McQueen. Sure, I didn't expect that. Still, it's rather disturbing. Are you sure you should be dragging this out? This is to prepare for the worst. There's probably more than one offender involved. Furthermore, those horrible people killed 6 of us, including my husband. I have a responsibility to protect everyone until tomorrow, in my husband's place. As Natsui-san said this, she slumped down into one of the sofas to took a deep breath. Let's be honest, she clearly has... I don't think she's grown up handling firearms. Well, let's go in the extreme opposite direction. Assume that she's a crack shot. I want to see her pull the Grenader boob jiggle reload for the gun. I think there is no better way to reload a gun. Let me rephrase that. There's no more practical way to reload a firearm than to keep the bullets between your boobs and jiggle them into the gun. Obviously. Yeah, no, I would not. No, we don't give the gun to Ava. No. Give it to Maria. She had been trying to find grandfather as well as check the door and windows. Since grandfather wasn't with her, she probably still didn't know where he was. Rage bait her with a shotgun. Yeah, just tell her it's a magic wand that will get rid of whoever you pointed at. Carefully checked all the doors and windows throughout the mansion. However, we must be prepared for anything. Everyone, I think it would be best if we all remained here. Oh, good point. If everyone's gathered here, then we can all feel more secure by keeping an eye on each other. What do you mean by that, Eva-san? Nothing really. I'm just agreeing with your opinion, aren't I? Yes, and there's nothing more suspicious than that. There was a stormy atmosphere between the two of them. If you think about who was the most suspicious from the inheritance problem standpoint, Aunt Ava was the obvious answer. However, there was no proof that Aunt Natsui was innocent. No, if you view Beatrice's letter as one of Grandfather's complicated pranks and think of this crime as just an extension of that, there's more than enough reason to suspect even Grandfather. From what little we saw of Natsuhi's interaction with the Grandfather, I would argue that she might be one of the people that has the least reason to commit these crimes right now. Like, as far as sheer motive goes, I feel like she almost has no reason. Like, yes, there was a lot of stress and drama and everyone was, at everyone's throat, so there's still that. But she kind of got what she personally wanted, and that's kind of nuts. I feel like she has the least reasoning to cause this chaos and mayhem and murder people. But they're all crazy and rich, so who the frack knows? It's could be anyone, Also, Aunt Natsui thought the criminal was on the outside, but Aunt Ava thought the criminal was on the inside. In short, it was the question of whether or not a 19th person existed. The same question has been repeated endlessly since last night's dinner, with the letter from the witch who called herself Beatrice. So was the culprit among us? Or not? No, the culprit was werewolf. And did the witch Beatrice exist? Or not? If you assume that something as stupid as a witch can exist, you're basically saying that one of these relatives here, who share a common bloodline, is the culprit. If that was too unpleasant, it'd be much more comfortable to simply accept the fairy tale-like character of the witch. Oh, can't exist, okay. Oh, witch. A witch drawing a bizarre magic circle and offering human sacrifices. If I could accept that rubbish, I'd be able to trust all the people in this room. However, damn common sense getting in the way. I kept repeating that witches don't exist. In that case, the culprit must be among us. In the middle of the seemingly endless rain, none of us could break the silence. No, that broke the silence. Oh, damn, okay. Yeah, I guess a bit of time would pass to check the entire mansion and, process. Oh, looks at Morgana, yeah, Lunch ended, and the servants removed the tableware and went to the kitchen. The wind and rain neither weakened nor strengthened, and the island remained cut off from the outside world. At first, it seemed as though Natsui planned to stop anyone from taking a step outside the room. But when it came time to prepare lunch, she finally realized this would be impossible. However, in order to avoid having anyone alone in the kitchen, she told the 3 servants to go together. Because of that, the servants were the first ones given the right to leave the stuffy parlor, which had been packed with 11 people. Since breakfast had immediately followed the terrible incident, preventing most of us from eating much. Everyone tore into their lunches in silence. I will wash the dishes so you can rest a while, Kenan-kun, Genji-san. Do you want something to drink? I don't need anything. Kenan? I don't need anything either. You two must have been so busy and so early in the morning. It's no wonder you're worn out. The only noise was that of Kumasawa washing the dishes, which resounded throughout the kitchen. Genji and Kanon sat in some chairs a short distance away, their eyes lightly closed. Just as Kumasawa had said, those two had probably built up a great deal of fatigue. But that didn't mean they could let it show in front of the relatives. Avoiding that was one of their virtues. After the silence had continued for some time, Kanon opened his mouth and muttered, Shannon, why did she have to die in such a horrible way? Forget about the manner of her death. It was nothing more than bad luck. Really? I don't know if I agree with that statement. You're right. It was nothing more than bad luck. They both fell silent once again. Kanon's expression was filled with grief. To think that Shannon-chan's actually dead. I still can't believe it. Poor thing. Not being able to see her again feels like a lie. I just wanted to see her smiling face one more time. Kumasawa spoke with her back facing them. After all, Kumasawa hadn't seen Shannon's corpse, so she had no trouble mentioning Shannon's face. When Kanon heard those words, it reminded him again of how only half of Shannon's face had been left, and his grieving expression twisted even further. Why did Beatrice-sama do that to Shannon? If she wanted a sacrifice, there were plenty of others to choose from. Why? Why? It was nothing more than bad luck. If we were less lucky, you or I might have been lying out there instead of Shannon. Or it could have been someone else entirely. Everything is left to fate. Genji-sama. You said the door to Madame's room was stained with traces of something like blood, right? But the sound of the Discord. Oh yeah, alright. Same substance that was painted on the shutter. The question is, do I set it up for next time, or do I take like 2 minutes right now and, you know, have it ready for the inevitable, she's going to keep getting mentioned. Alright, give me 1 second then. Alright, so we got Discord. Download. Put it there. Desktop. Beatrice. Open with... Really? You're not going to give me Audacity as a choice? Screw you. Fine. Just to make sure the levels are good. Not that I doubt it, I always run them through a filter. Yoink. The joys of 2 monitors. So I need to make it really loud so I can make it really quiet. You know. Apply. Compressor. Apply. Export. It's MP3. Yes, I would like to export it. Thank you. So now we take that. Right here. There. Move it there. Go to the bot. Yoink. Sound file. Add a sound file. We'll probably have to test the volume, so I'm probably going to have to mess around with it. But that's okay. Like, that's just part of it. I forgot to have all those. Beatrice. Let's say. Automatically generate command. Subscriber. No cooldown. Should I do a chat response to it? No, I think this is a fine one to just have it, you know. I don't think it needs to print anything to chat. Okay. I'm gonna keep it open and editable, but... I'm actually gonna turn it down just a bit, but it's good. It's good. Oh, yeah. Oh man. All right, let me try one more. That might be spot on. I could turn it down a little more for effect. But, I appreciate the, like, yeah, I would have had to watch a tutorial too. I was just going to cut the volume, but, like, I appreciate the little, like, it sounds like it's coming through the walls, and I appreciate that. Hold on, I'm going to turn it down just a little more. I think this will be the right spot. Let's see. Last try. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Alright, cool. But I can't tab out, so that's up to you guys. Oh man, that was absolutely worth like the 2-3 minutes time. Oh, the same substance that was painted on the shutter, indeed. It was an unsettling mark. Almost as though someone with blood-stained fingers had been trying to pull out the doorknob. No, scratch through the door. That sort of unpleasant mark. So does this mean Beatrice-sama came to visit Madame's room? And tried to open the door? But couldn't? Position. Oh yeah, absolutely. Genji thought back to the time he had seen those traces of blood on the door to Natsui's room. With the substance sticking to the door around the doorknob, and the marks of something scratching against the door, it had definitely appeared as though someone had tried to open the door but couldn't. Did the madam avoid being chosen as a sacrifice? If only she'd been chosen. Shannon wouldn't have had to die. Just then, a loud, sharp noise came in from the hall. Both of them turned around, surprised. It's a pretty interesting chat you're having there. Let me join in, too. Before any of the servants realized it, Battler was standing in the doorway to the kitchen. Battler-sama. How rude of us. Genshi-san and Kanon-kun stood up, surprised and hastily bowed. But I didn't care about stuff like that. I was more concerned with continuing the discussion. I told them I was going to the bathroom, so they let me go. I thought I'd suffocate if I was locked up in that room any longer. I was about to come ask you guys for some water, but then I overheard something pretty interesting. You don't need to bow your heads or anything. Please let me hear the rest. That just now wasn't really... Been listening to you for a while. Don't try to hide it now. So I'll ask directly. Who is this Beatrice? She's supposed to be a witch from a kid's story, but it doesn't look that way now. Kanon-kun averted his gaze. It was obvious that he didn't want to talk about this, which only made me want to ask even more. While making an effort to smile, I grabbed the collar of his shirt. Okay. Fine. Immediately resort to physical... Last night, this would have been none of my business. Okay, hold on. I said this was a thing for later, but... Got a, like, an eyelash claw on my glasses, and it's right where I'm reading stuff, and it wasn't going away. There we go. Cool. Just the smallest thing, but it gets annoying, you know. But after this morning, everything's changed. Now that Dad and the rest have been killed, this is totally my business. I have the right to listen to this suspicious story, don't I? I glared into Kanon's eyes as he continued to avert his gaze in apparent pain. Since there was a big difference in our heights, Kanon had to stand on his toes, and it looked like it hurt a bit. Battler-san, please let go of him. Kanon-san isn't really hiding anything. Then you won't have any problems talking about it, right? It's lonely being out of the loop, you know. When I tried to further twist up his collar, Genji-san cut between us and spoke. In his expression were faint traces that he'd made up his mind to do something. Apparently, he had no intention of hiding it. I can tell you about it. Kanon only hesitated because you might have taken it badly, Battler-sama. Hesitating, huh? Not very manly of you. Whatever it is you're talking about, it's even more unpleasant having it kept a secret. Nothing's less manly than the hesitation. I just act. I don't even think sometimes. I just go straight for it all the time, every time, always. That's what makes me a man. A real man doesn't think. Real man just acts. It does sound like a line he would say, yeah. Tell me about it. It's not like we have anything better to do before tomorrow comes. A slightly spooky story might be the best way to avoid getting bored. Genji-san and Kanon-kun looked at each other, then nodded as though they'd decided to talk. Understood. Please ask us anything. We will talk. Cool. Did you kill everyone? Then I'll ask. I mean, look, if they say ask us anything, that would be my leading question to any single person in this mansion. Who in the world is Beatrice? All I know is that she's a witch who lives in the forest of Rokenjima. I've heard it's a story grandmother or someone invented to keep people out of the dangerous forest. It works so good, but it's for exactly what I envisioned. Is that wrong? Yeah. No, it isn't wrong. Like, if it turns out the grandfather's alive, awesome. He's shit at hiding because every time somebody even thinks the word Beatrice, he shouts it. If the grandfather's dead, awesome. His love for Beatrice was so strong that even his ghost keeps shouting out her name post-mortem. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. It's perfect. Like... No, it isn't wrong. It's as you say. Beatrice is a witch who dwells in the forest of Rokenjima. Battler-sama, I don't expect you to believe this all of a sudden. Oh man, I should make different volume levels of the sound effect so it randomizes how far away it sounds like it is. I shouldn't do it live, but I should make it a random sound effect where it has like 10 different volume levels. That is way too much work for way too little payoff, but also I kind of want to do it. I didn't expect you to believe this all of a sudden, but Beatrice-sama exists. She is a real person, the one who gave the master a vast amount of gold and who worked by his side for many years. Huh? Ah, come on. Is grandfather paying you to repeat everything he says? I laughed like it was a joke, but neither Genji-san nor Kanan-kun laughed. Not even Kumasawa Bachan, who was avoiding my eyes, flustered as she started washing the dishes. So unfortunately, I was the only one laughing. Painfully, bitterly. I see. That's why Genji-san refused to mention it. If you really mean it, of course I take it badly. So you're saying that a person named Beatrice actually exists? Yes. She has been working for the master since before the mansion was built on this island. She has most likely been working for him even longer than I have. What do you know? Kiryu-san's theory was off. Grandfather really did have a confidant called Beatrice. Is that person on the island now? Yes. I believe that she's here. It's a vague way to say it. I guess that means you haven't seen her face today, or yesterday. That is correct. Whatever loudest version of the Beatrice sound I make, right before he shouts Beatrice in that one, you hear the sound of like a door opening, so it sounds like he just burst into the room to shout Beatrice at you. This might be the stupidest idea for a sound effect I've had, but it doesn't mean it's bad. Yeah, like the stupid fighting gold microwave me. That is correct. It's extremely difficult to say, but Kanan-kun once again dropped his gaze, avoiding my eyes. Come on, don't just stop there. Look, that was art, is all I'm saying, and all the re-uploaded versions of that cut it short, so are inferior. The full version was so powerful. Just the knocking, the louder knocking, the timing of glass shatter, fighting gold. Oh, it was so good. Come on, don't just stop there. That's like freezing an inch before the blow, right? Oh, he means punching somebody. I urged him on jokingly again. However, it looked like Kanan was still confused as to whether he should speak or not. Then Kumasawa Bachan whispered, That's a good whisper. You cannot see her face because Beatrice-sama has no form. Okay. Sure, just for yes, I would only use it for that one. But go ahead. I might not even do any of this. It might come to next week and none of this has happened, and it would still be perfect as is. Don't get me wrong. She has no... What did you say? Beatrice-sama has no body. Therefore, unless Beatrice-sama wishes it, common people like us are not able to see her form. I've heard that the portrait shows what Beatrice-sama looked like back when she had a human form. It seems he yearned for that figure so much, he would often stand in front of that portrait. Beatrice-sama sometimes shows herself by changing her form into glittering butterflies. On the rare occasion that you spot them somewhere in the mansion, there's a rule that you absolutely mustn't chase after them. It is whispered that you will meet with disaster if you do. In fact, there was a servant who broke that rule and quit because of a great injury. Wait a sec, are you kidding me? Are you all serious about this? Battle-sama, Beatrice-sama has already arrived. Such language may be unwise. Beatrice-sama does not like it when she is profaned. If you doubt her existence, you will surely meet with disaster. Battle-san, you probably find this topic unpleasant. But you know what? Beatrice-sama does exist. She exists. Beatrice-sama hates people who doubt that. Can't you tell, Battler-sama? Beatrice-sama has already arrived here. Come on, quit it. I'm weak against that stuff. Enough with the cheap threats. However, there was no trace of a joke in the eyes of the three servants. On the surface, I laughed and tried to look unconcerned, but I was quickly starting to sober up. Their eyes were also sobering up fast. Battler-san, I beg that you stop profaning Beatrice-sama. Please trust me. Kumasawa Bachan, who was usually cheerful and would always tease people, now spoke with a totally serious face. Well, even if you say she exists, I don't see anything. Are you trying to say she's standing right next to me or something? Quit joking around. A butterfly just lands on his shoulder, flaps its wing, and snaps his neck. Hello, children. Small child. Why do that? Just then, that unnerving laugh suddenly filled the kitchen. When I turned around, Maria was standing there by the entrance. But her expression and the feeling about her presence felt exactly the same as the servants. Whether your wavelength matches or not is determined at birth. Battler, you were born with a mismatched wavelength. That's why you can't see her. That's why you can't meet with her. And that's why you can't talk to her. You're the type Beatrice hates the most. Maria laughed like it was funny, but it sounded extremely eerie. It was almost like she was laughing at me because I alone didn't understand. She is. And you don't. Do you want to know about Beatrice? Beatrice is a 1,000-year-old witch. With all of the demons at her command, she can harness the power of alchemy to create the Philosopher's Stone and vast quantities of gold. Is this the Dark Atelier timeline? Is this what happens when rich people get a hold of alchemy as opposed to, you know, plucky young lads and lasses? Grandfather built up all the vast wealth of the Shiramiya family by making a contract with her. Yesterday I read Beatrice's letter, didn't I? That was real. The alchemist didn't have rise at a thirst after. Well, I guess it's pointless for me to try to force you to believe. That's true. This is what happens when you alchemize with greed as opposed to alchemizing with bombing things as your end goal. After all, looks like you were born without a trace of the sixth sense. What are you talking about? Witches? Demons? Who told you about that? I heard it from Beatrice herself. Maria kept doing that unpleasant laugh. However, the servants who watched over this didn't even blink. She heard it from that witch in the portrait adorning the entrance hall. Maria kept on laughing in a weird voice, as though this was nothing more or less than the truth. Maria, it might be rude to ask, but I'll ask one more time, okay? Who gave you that letter yesterday? I got it from Beatrice. How many times must I tell you before you understand? You don't get it, do you? You can't see it. You can't believe it, can you? Just then, Maria's laughter suddenly stopped. Battler, you still don't understand. Beatrice-sama exists. Yeah, it's totally fine, Birdie. Don't worry. It's totally Creepy kids are creepy. She exists, you say, but where? Like I said, Beatrice-sama exists here. That's right. Now that I think about it, I've been feeling for a while now that the servants' eyes haven't been pointed in quite the right direction. I figured they were just staring absent-mindedly, but that wasn't the case. The four here, Genshi-san, Kanan-kun, Kumasawa-san, and Maria, everyone except me, was looking at a spot right behind me. Holding my breath tightly, I slowly looked over my shoulder. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I've known that the whole time. However, everyone in the room except me was focusing on that point as if there was someone there. Beatrice is the mighty golden witch who has lived for 1,000 years. But since she can't show her form to humans of the wrong wavelengths, she can't talk to them. And you know what? It's really sad. I mean, she truly despises it when people like you, who were born without a fragment of the ability needed to sense magic, deny that she exists. You're lucky, Battler. Good thing I gave you that charm yesterday, right? Don't you realize what kind of curse Beatrice would have put on you by now if you hadn't been carrying that around? You really are lucky, Battler. So lucky. Oh, that scorpion keychain. I thought that was just some cheap gift or something, but are you saying it really had some power? If it weren't for that, you'd be lying in that storehouse as a sacrifice with your face crushed by now. Good. You're so lucky, Battler. Didn't he give it to Jessica? And didn't she give it to her mom? Or were there two given out? Let's see. So if it weren't for that, I'd have been killed by now. Battler, why don't you believe in Beatrice? Even though she exists. Right now, over there. Look. Look, says the girl who knows he can't see. Hey, I'll bet you want to believe it now. Believe it. And thank me for giving you that charm. If it weren't for that, you'd be in the storehouse right now. But then maybe we would have saved someone else in exchange, right? Right then, I burst into laughter. Playing witches had been pretty fun up until a second ago, but unfortunately that last one seemed to be too much for me to gloss over. Then it's all useless, isn't it, Maria? If that's true, then I'm sorry, but it's all useless. When Maria saw me suddenly start laughing, she stopped. Even though she didn't understand what I was laughing at, she realized it wouldn't be pleasant for her. Ooh? Thought I might hurt you, so I didn't say it earlier, but... Well, thought I'd put that charm you gave me in my pocket. Well, I must have dropped it somewhere. So the charm can't be the only reason I'm alive now. Even though I should have been cursed by the witch, I'm perfectly fine. Sorry, but I don't believe in things I don't see with my own eyes. Sixth senses, wavelengths, magic sensitivity. Sorry, but I don't believe in fake stuff like that. When I hear the girls in class start talking about how good or bad their ability to sense the supernatural is, it pisses me off. He would not enjoy Don. I don't know how much grandfather is paying you, but if you're trying to talk me into joining some cult, believe me, you won't be able to do it that easily. You guys are free to believe whatever you want. However, when it comes to the things I believe, the one who decides is always me. Sorry, but I can't believe in something as shady as Beatrice until I've seen her with my own eyes. I spoke forcefully and sharply. Then Maria started cackling again. Excuse me. Well, that's just fine, isn't it? Eventually, even people like you with totally mismatched wavelengths will be able to see Beatrice. Very soon she will revive. Beatrice will revive. Once that happens, she's promised to talk with me and play with me a lot. There'll be absolutely no need for you to doubt or for us to force you to believe. She will appear very soon. I'm sure that's going to be great. Still raining. After a meal, some people tend to head to the bathroom, while others prefer to relax for a bit. It seemed that several people had left the parlor, just like I did when I went to the kitchen to drink some water. In the end, Aunt Natsui reluctantly retracted her order that everyone remain packed into the parlor, on the condition that no one headed out on their own or strayed too far. In any case, if 11 people are shut up in the same room starting early in the morning, the air will start to stagnate. Also, quite some time had passed, so everyone was starting to recover from the shock of that morning, and the sense of danger might have been weakening too. There's a typhoon going on. If you want to get the stagnant air out, just open 2 windows, and it's gone. Gone. Everything will be a bit, damp, but the air will not be stagnant anymore. However, it was a certain fact that 6 people had been killed inside this mansion. Well, it was the fact that 6 people had been killed. Somebody could have lured them outside the mansion. On this island, yeah, I feel like that's, the fastest AC of the West. Yeah. So no one was completely negligent. So whenever they went out into the hallways for a breath of fresh air, trying to act tough, they would quickly get scared of standing there, isolated, and would eventually return to the parlor. I guess it's like the north wind and the sun. If you force someone to stay shut in, they'll resist, but if you tell them to do whatever they want, they'll come back obediently. How wet my body is. Yeah, people really do like not doing what they're told. When the servants finished cleaning up from the meal, they returned immediately to the parlor just as Aunt Natsui had told them to, and sat on a sofa near the entrance, patiently awaiting orders. Maria, almost as though she had suddenly finished playing witches, had returned to the pure Maria I knew well, saying, "Ooh, ooh." What in the world happened back there? I hadn't felt even an atom of the presence of this person called Beatrice, who was supposedly standing right behind me, invisible. However, it felt like I'd glimpsed a little of that presence inside Maria. You're right. When Maria starts talking about witches, her personality changes. Haruka-kun, you also saw it down by the beach yesterday, right? You mean that scorpion keychain? No, I don't mean like when her feelings were hurt. I'm talking about her having a dual personality or something. Yeah, one is powered by ooze and the other is powered by haughty witch talk. Yeah, that happens sometimes too. Any other family would think this was weird. See, any other family would think this was weird and not have the money for, like, the therapy to look into it. They have excess money and it's just like, this is fine. Don't worry about it. I think Maria did when she was talking about the magic circle does happen every now and then. It's freaky, though. Apparently Jessica had spotted that Kihi Maria a few times. I just happened to catch it at a bad moment and was pretty freaked out seeing it for the first time. So what's that? I mean, didn't she do the same when she was reading the letter? But, first-ish time. That's true, they've lived there, but, like, I don't know. I don't know how much of that you can normalize. Even if you get used to it, you have to accept that that's just so weird. Like, and it's even weirder that the thing that pissed her mom off the most was the ooze. Of the choices, of the options we have available, stick with the ooze. Stick with the ooze. No, Ramen, it's clearly normal autism stuff. Obviously. It's the slight cousin to autism. There's only ever been one case in this small child. But thankfully they made a 200-hour visual novel to document it, so, you know, it's well documented. Even if it was only one case. So what is that? Does Maria have a dual personality or something? Or are you saying that her spiritual sense really is that strong and she's being possessed by a spirit or whatever? No, I don't think it's that. Haven't you ever experienced it? Being possessed? No. When you were small, didn't you ever want to be someone other than yourself? When humans are born, no one has any individuality. However, when they reach their growth period, their sense of self starts to be born. They want to be different than other people. But since everyone else in their class is learning the same things at the same rate and being forced into the same lifestyle, of course they aren't going to find anything that makes them different from everyone else around them. Once they realize that, the first thing they do is start breaking the rules in what's called their rebellious stage. Since everyone else follows the rules, they want to show off their individuality by breaking them. So even those who try to act tough, mocking everyone around them and calling them childish, can actually be viewed as cute kids searching for themselves, if you look at it this way. You know, if they did less of hurting people for it. But yeah, it's actually getting really kind of chilly in here, so hold on a second. I got a window fan just in time for the nighttime temperature to plummet after a week of it being really toasty. What the hell's the top of it? Alright, that was definitely not the best way of doing that, but it was. There we go. We'll do this. We will not do that. I could, but I'm not going to. Right behind me! No! I refuse. What's this childish talk of witches and the occult? I'm too cool to believe in that. Viper occult, yeah, exactly. I mean, look. I could. There we go. I'm not going to, but, you know. Just do the entire stream, just here. Barely moving, barely doing anything else. It would be really hard to read, but I could do other games in theory. Do you know what we need to play? Magica, obviously. That's the logical choice. Even those who try to... Oh yeah, I read that one. Well, I'm lecturing about all this like I'm so smart, but I actually got it second-handed from George Haneke. I myself was one of those embarrassing guys who thought it was cool to act like a little bastard. Thought past tense? Was? Well, that was when I was at the age where you try to show off for the opposite sex. You mean the majority of your lifespan from like 18 to like... The main feature of the growing period lies in the impulse to break away from your life as a kid, like a chick trying to crack open the shell of their egg. Do you know what makes children and adults different? Age? Or do you mean size? No, it's experience. Adults can look down on children because children have very little life experience. The reason they snort at everything children say is because they think kids know nothing about the real world. Yeah, I understand that. When you're a kid, you talk like you've got life all figured out somehow, trying to act like an adult. No matter what kids say, adults just snort at them and say they're too naive, or that they'll understand when they get older, or something. Well, it's probably true, but to a kid it's just annoying, like they're being looked down on. I get it. It's a question of knowledge and experience. Well, I guess you're right that there's no reason to respect a person for their age if they've just wasted their lives. Therefore, during the period where they try to separate themselves from other children, they also try to take on personality traits that are different from those around them. And if knowledge and experience is what separates kids and adults, I get it. If they know something no one else knows, it becomes part of their identity. You know, when I was in elementary school, I'd learned things no one else knew. Got things no one else had, weird things no one else wore, and became a bit of a hero for it. I bet you've done the same thing, Battler. Yeah. Man, wasn't it great when we could just afford to try all these different things and clothes and personalities and styles because we just had the money? It wasn't that great? Yeah. It was definitely an age where I wanted to excel in some skill or other. I see, so that's because I was trying to separate myself from being a child, or going through my growing period, in other words. If you put a positive spin on it, the growing period forces you to separate yourself from others, thereby pushing you to gain skills and knowledge no one else has. This is also interesting from a sociological standpoint. Because people hate being like everyone else, they try to learn skills other people don't know. In this way, society can acquire the broad range of skills it needs to survive. The quality of the gods' programming truly is surprising. Well, unique personality traits can also be negative, right? Like if, say, everyone in the class was studying hard, but I was the only one slacking off trying to stand out. Okay, that last bit really was true about me. Yeah, no, I believe that. No. That was so cool. I still got scars from all the broken glass, and they're so cool. It's only recently that I've been able to thank the middle school teacher who slapped me after school. He definitely deserved it. But well, I tried to jump over things no one else could. Sprint as fast as I could, trying to lap those guys with good grades when we did a marathon. It just felt like doing it. It was in my nature that if I couldn't study well, then at least I could get back at them by exercising. I see, so I really did go through a proper growing period. I guess boys really do tend to focus more on physical stuff. But you know, girls of the same age tend to focus more on mental, spiritual things. I bet there were groups of girls in your class that got really interested in fortune telling in the spiritual sense. Yeah, there were. They'd come over asking me for my sign and my blood type. And they'd laugh, "Ah, I thought so," giggle, giggle. Yeah, no, these days they definitely lose their job, but imagine him in your class. Really got on my nerves. No matter which class you go to, girls like fortune telling. Yes, girls like fortune telling in which class. It's an accurate statement. Deciding whether your spirit sense is strong or weak, what your sensitivity is, whether you can see the unseeable, that kind of thing definitely happened to me. That's because fortune telling and spiritual senses are things that aren't taught in school. Yeah, witch hat, exactly. To girls who tend to be more introverted, it's a genre that's easy to build an identity upon, and one that holds a lot more interest for them. Just like how when boys enter their growing period, they start acting tough and rebel against adults. When girls enter the growing period, they start getting interested in that kind of thing. Well, I didn't know. So, Maria having so much interest in the occult isn't that rare among girls her age. Even if we accept that, I wonder if it explains that creepy dual personality thing. Actually, I think I probably could accept that explanation more or less. As you just said, becoming an adult means gaining knowledge and experience. So to gain that, it's necessary for children to learn all sorts of things and break free from childhood. However, there are certain convenient delusions that you can see often in the world of children both now and in the past. Do you know what I mean? No! You see it all the time in manga and anime, right? It's kind of like that. Like you've got memories from a previous life that start to resurface. Like you're being possessed by the soul of the great something or what. It could be that a sleeping gene gets awakened. Or maybe a sealed power or memory returns. There's all kinds. For some reason, stuff like that's really popular at that age. Why is that? Well, because all of these examples you just mentioned are illusions that let the children immediately add to their summer knowledge and experience. If a 9-year-old girl says she has a 1,000-year-old witch possessing her, then she gains a 1,009-year-old identity. So basically, studying is annoying. I don't know how that's the takeaway here, but these delusions are convenient for people who want to brag about having a skill no one else has. Amazingly, people are in them. So you can brag about something without having to work hard or study. I see. Isn't that a kid's greatest dream? Furthermore, in the desire to separate themselves from being kids, they always project an image of their ideal self. And it's not rare, for that desired self to become an alternate personality. Even you, Battler-kun, probably had a slightly different personality at home and at school, right? Probably be embarrassing if your friends at school saw how you were at home. At school, you try to project yourself as you want to be, project yourself. But home is where you're your true self. So in other words, I'm changing my personality depending on the situation.
Hey master, I am math scientist. It's so cool, son of a bitch.
Look, I'm going to say that perhaps maybe having multiple personalities in this family might be higher than the, global rate. A girl who's a fan of the occult might say she's being possessed or awakened. She might start wearing an eye patch and, talking about her sealed eye. Honestly, there's some kids who change their personality so much it's creepy. And some boys do it too, right? They start wearing lab coats and talking on cell phones that aren't turned on. Guys who say they've blown their top and suddenly turn into some overplayed violent character. Oh, no, not that. That's... I'll bet they think it's pretty cool. It's painful to watch. Let's sum this all up. So, you're saying that even if a girl about Maria's age shows a creepy second personality like she did a minute ago, it isn't such a rare or unusual thing. Simply put, that's right. Identity is an important factor when building up one's sense of self. If you make fun of it, it could actually cause children to go back into their shells. So it's important to go along with them to some degree. Although the broad-mindedness of the parent determines whether they play along or in full or not. Aniki, I can't believe you're single. You're so hot right now. You sound like you've already raised kids through middle school. So, I wonder if Aunt Rosa also knew much about Maria's dual personality. She knew about it. Just between us, Aunt Rosa really hated it. No, we noticed that. She said it was unpleasant and that Maria was becoming increasingly isolated from the rest of the class. Anytime Maria started talking about the occult or laughing like a witch, she'd slap her. Okay. And it looks like Maria stopped talking that way in front of her. Maybe that thing back there was just a little game from a girl facing her growing period? Just a girl trying to show that she was different and independent by holding interest in witches and the occult. And since she wanted to be different from herself, young as she was switching between her normal personality and the personality of her ideal, a witch. At first, I found that very disturbing. But after being lectured by George Aniki, it felt like this was a path everyone walked down at one time or another. I haven't told anyone, but when I was in kindergarten, I joined up with a little gang of kids trying to form an Earth Defense Force, EDF, saying we'd help protect peace on Earth. My face turns red when I remember how, during what we called battle practice, we would chant, EDF, EDF. Just like usual, Maria was relaxing. Battler out there killing ants. Yeah, slightly smaller ants, but you know, still putting in the good work. Immersed in the TV, ooh-ooing and laughing just like any girl her age. But on the inside, another personality, that of the ideal witch she respected and blindly accepted, was sleeping. But that wasn't anything extraordinary. It was perfectly natural for a girl of her age. Definitely. I've calmed down a little. The shock from my bizarre experience in the kitchen just now is fading away. If I hadn't talked to Aniki and Jessica, I might still be frightened by the idea that an invisible witch is standing right behind me. However, can I really accept that as an explanation for what happened back there? If it had just been Maria, I could have explained it as the fickle delusions of a growing girl. But Genshi-san, Kanon-kun, and Kumasawa's Bachan had also been there. None of them had denied what Maria said. They silently accepted that Beatrice exists. I was starting to feel a little uneasy. Aunt Ava's position was that no 19th person existed, that the crime was an inside job tied to the family quarrels. On the other hand, Aunt Natsui's position was that the culprit was hiding somewhere outside the mansion, so she rejected the possibility of an inside job and supported the idea that a 19th person existed. And in the kitchen, Maria and the servants had also supported the idea of a 19th person. But according to them, this 19th person isn't human. They said it was an invisible witch carrying out some mysterious plan. Is there a 19th person or not? And is the culprit human or a witch? For some reason, I couldn't just laugh off any of these possibilities. Not even the most ridiculous story about the witch. Jessica. All I know about the story of the witch is that the adults made it up to keep the kids too scared to enter the forest. But is the story different here in the mansion? I feel the same way you do, okay? I think it was just a stupid ghost story that parents made up so their kids would listen to them. I can't deny that the atmosphere inside the mansion makes it a little hard to say it out loud. After all, Grandfather has proclaimed that Beatrice exists. He would never. And because of their position, the servants can't doubt that. Even Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsui don't want to get into the fight with him, so on the surface they go along with it. So it's probably fair to say that doubting the existence of Beatrice is taboo to those who live and work in this mansion. Unlike the rest of us, who only come here once a year. Is that right? Jessica took a deep breath in admiration. Looked like Aniki had guessed right. Just like you say. No one really believes it on the inside. But on the outside, they accept that she exists. See, it's just like the way some people are about God. Even if they know God doesn't exist, they feel like it would be uncouth if they actually said it out loud. How do you think the servants feel about it? Are they just going along with it because Grandfather, their employer, says that she exists? I'm extra tired today, and I shouldn't be. I didn't lose any sleep. Lost a little sleep. But, well, I don't really know the details. But between the servants, the story about Beatrice has been treated like a sort of ghost story. Remember yesterday when Shannon was talking to us down by the beach? A story about how one night when she was doing the rounds in the mansion, she saw something unsettling. She did say something like that, didn't she? Back then, I thought she was just being really nice to help me improve Maria's mood. But it felt like she was serious when she said it. That's right, she definitely said it. She definitely said the same kind of thing that Genji and the rest had all unanimously declared back in the kitchen. In addition, some servants have also seen will-o'-the-wisps and glittering butterflies dancing around. Kanon-kun also saw something like that when he went patrolling one night. And recently, you often hear servants talking about strange footsteps heard inside the mansion near midnight. We've whispered together that the Beatrice-sama in the portrait sometimes makes herself invisible and walks through the mansion. It happened a while ago, but even I have heard footsteps while patrolling at night that resemble those stories. That's right, she definitely said that. Exactly the same thing that I had been told just now. But there's nothing to be afraid of. Beatrice-sama is another ruler of this mansion, separate from the master. So there's no need to be unnaturally afraid. If you respect her, I hear she won't do anything bad. Yeah, just respect her. Don't say out loud repeatedly that you don't think she exists. But yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine. But also, like, he is an utter fool to continue tempting fate like this. But, no, it's fine. Shout to the heavens that you don't believe she exists. However, she can be quite terrifying if you don't respect her, right? Correct. I've heard that just before I began working here. Someone who spoke badly about Beatrice-sama fell down the stairs and quit after receiving a large injury to their back. Because of that, there was a rumor between the servants that Beatrice-sama's anger had been brought down upon this person. If you don't respect her, you'll suffer her wrath and get hurt. So, to the servants, Beatrice's existence is just as credible as the story that, if you pull pranks on Inari-san, you'll receive Kitsune-sama's curse. Of course, even though everyone accepts that curses and the like don't exist in the modern era, people are still afraid and still have a little respect for them. Teasing Silent Hill after this long ago. Yeah, obviously. You know, it's the curse that comes in the shape of a town enveloping fog. Perfectly normal. I definitely wonder, like, how to phrase it. I wonder if he had ideas for other games that end up getting put into Silent Hill when he worked on it, because he wouldn't have thought he'd end up working on a Silent Hill. Or if they were like, hey, do you want to make a Silent Hill? And he was like, cool, let me just come up with something. Like, I don't know. I wonder how the whole him making that game came about. I guess is probably the best way to put it. You often see it when, in a residential area, someone is building a house and they call a Shinto priest for a ceremony to honor the god of that plot of land. You might think that was just a big waste of time and money, but it is said that if the workers don't do that, a big accident will occur, so they never neglect to do it. You also hear about how, if an Inari shrine is carelessly removed during a town replanning, there'd be a curse by Kitsune-sama. I think I might have read somewhere that when the occupying forces were trying to expand an airport, they tried to remove an Inari-san that was in the way. And the workers kept getting struck down by mysterious fevers. Even in modern times, cities like Tokyo, it wasn't really rare to see modern buildings packed all around an old Inari shrine, leaving the shrine itself untouched. And this wasn't limited to Japan. It's probably similar to how foreigners baptize babies. If I remember right, by Christian doctrine, if unbaptized souls have even the slightest amount of sin, they will still go to hell. Putting water on a child's forehead doesn't do anything but make them cry. But if by doing just that, parents can prevent their child from going to hell, they will happily go through with that ceremony. In short, even in this modern society of reason, we are still unable to throw away every trace of belief and fear. You could even say that we accept ceremony, certain sorts of supernatural things, though in a passive way. Maybe the only difference on this island is that Beatrice is the object of that worship. So in other words, if anything happens that doesn't seem explainable in human terms, it's called the work of Beatrice. Thanks. I think Shanin-chan said it herself. Windows and doors and locks that were tightly shut would be open the next time you went to check them. Lights that should have been on went out, and lights that should have been out were turned on. And if I remember, even Jessica was joking about it, saying it was also the work of Beatrice when she couldn't find her bag in the morning. Your memory is pretty good. Normally you'd say some little imps took them, but on this island it's Beatrice. Well, it's all pretty stupid though. This mansion has been standing for about 30 years by now, hasn't it? It's natural for things that old to get their fair share of ghosts and occult stories. Like the 7 mysteries at a school. That's where I'll spin the chessboard around. Simply put, on this island, there's a rule that Beatrice gets blamed for anything that couldn't have been done by humans. Things that humans can't do. How many humans are here? 18. In other words, the culprit is using the rules of this island to make it look like a witch committed this crime. Which proves that they desperately wanted us to think a 19th person did it. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. What do you mean you don't like it? Let's assume some invisible 19th person exists and wants people to know they exist. If it were me, I'd do it with even more perfect timing. If it was me, I'd be better at revealing myself, and I'd be better at killing people than the killer too. I would just be better and do it better. Because I'm better. What do you mean by perfect timing? Yeah, skill issue. Well, the crime took place sometime between the middle of the night and dawn, right? We had some people who were talking together until the middle of the night, some people on night shifts, and some people who'd returned to their rooms and were sleeping. Everyone's alibi is really vague, so there's plenty of room to suspect that the crime was an inside job. Joe, Janaki, Aunt Ava probably told you too, right? And there's a good chance this crime was an inside job. Right. I'm gonna pause here for a second, I'm gonna fill my water bottle, and I gotta hit the bathroom real fast. So I'll be right back. Might actually turn off the fan in the window while I'm up, but maybe I'll leave it on. I don't know. But bathroom real quick, because I need them.
Tell me, for whom do you fight?
For whom do you fight? Beatrice!
And do you believe in Eorzea? Eorzea's unity is forged of falsehoods. Its city-states are built on deceit, and its faith is an instrument of deception. It is not but a cobweb of lies. To believe in Eorzea is to believe in nothing. In Eorzea, the beast tribes often summon gods to fight in their stead. Though your comrades only rarely respond in kind, which is strange, is it not? Are the 12 otherwise engaged? I was given to understand they were your protectors. If you truly believe them your guardians, why do you not repeat the trick that served you so well at Cartano and call them down? They will answer, so long as you lavish them with crystals and gorge them on ether. Your gods are no different from those of the beasts. Icons, everyone, except but this, and you will see how Eorzea's faith is bleeding the land dry. Nor is this unknown to your masters, which prompts the question, why do they cling to these false deities? What drives even men of learning, even the great Louis Soir, to grovel at their feet? The answer? Your masters lack the strength to do otherwise. For the world of man to mean anything, man must own the world. To this end, he hath fought ever to raise himself through conflict, to grow rich.
I forgot Pachi wouldn't. Yeah, this is it is the entire Praetorium speech. Did you know that Ramen did a solo run through Praetorium with their music muted for the whole run just to record the sound file? Because all the ones on YouTube have the background music, and I didn't want the background music for it, I just wanted the audio. So yeah, Ramen soloed Praetorium in silence for it. Yeah. It is absolutely the most used sound effect command by any metric and margin. I read that one, right? Yes. I guess. Okay, good drink. In other words, if this invisible 19th person really exists and wants to let us know it, this first crime was a complete failure. No, in the first place, they chose the wrong time of day to do it. If this invisible 19th person really wanted to show themselves... Oh, my snake is falling off. There we go. They had to make sure that the crime took place under conditions which proved that the remaining 12 people were all innocent. Excuse me, hiccups. As long as there's a single human we can suspect, this 19th person's attempt to highlight their presence fails. What if their goal is just to keep you occupied, just spinning the chessboard over and over again, and, you know... Maybe, that would be a weird goal, but... That's why near midnight, when everyone's alibis are at their Vegas, the 19th person existence is also at its Vegas. He never starts the race. Yeah, exactly. Yet the culprit chose to commit the crime at that time. By committing the crime then, one of the 18 would obviously be suspected. And yet someone handed Maria the letter and called themselves a witch, even though everyone denies they did it. In other words, you're trying to say that one of the 18 is trying to make it look like a 19th person called Beatrice exists. That's a pretty crazy idea. I think Mom's theory about something hiding outside the mansion is a bit more credible. Battler, don't tell me you actually think someone in this room is the culprit. I do. Someone's trying to force us to accept that Beatrice exists. That's right, this whole thing started as far back as the letter last night. I don't have any basis or proof. But with the chessboard turned around, this is my best guess. With the chessboard turned around and my absolute blind inability to even comprehend supernatural, this is what I got. Seriously? That's too crazy. You sure you haven't been reading too many weird detective novels? However, it's an angle we can't ignore. Whether there's a 19th person or not, the culprit's definitely planning something involving that rule about the island. Just now, listening to Battler-kun talk, I remembered something that's a little disturbing. Something disturbing? Yes. Do you remember Beatrice's letter? It said that Beatrice was going to collect interest. And by interest, it mentioned everything of the Ushiromiya family. Jessica and I thought back on what Maria had read aloud the previous night. Yeah, it said that. Definitely said that. The collection of the interest was going to take place shortly, but if the riddle of the gold could be solved, she'd lose that right. Grandfather received the gold and rebuilt the Ushiromiya family. In other words, according to Beatrice, everything created using the gold as capital counts as part of the interest. Sakurai was Beatrice all along? Clearly. Which means... It's pretty scary for a joke, Aniki. You don't mean everything of the Ushiromiya family. In other words, everything that grandfather gave birth to. In other words, everyone with grandfather's blood flowing through their veins. If you interpret the letter that way, these murders are just Beatrice legitimately collecting interest. If that's the case, these crimes will continue. Because the collection of interest is still only halfway completed. George turned around looking over at the parlor. There were still many people who held the name Ushiromiya. And because Goda-san and Shannon-chan had been killed, we knew that not even the servants were safe, despite lacking the Ushiromiya name. So are they planning to kill us all? That's weird, George-ni-san. In that case, why only 6 people? They should have been able to kill a lot more. At worst, it should have been possible for them to assault everyone while they were sleeping and kill them in the single night. Why didn't they do that? The special clause. If someone manages to solve the riddle of the gold, their right to the interest will be lost. And remember how the letter ended. It challenged us all to solve the riddle of grandfather's gold. Jesus! Looks like we're finally understanding the culprit's message. Jesus. Excuse me. I think I can... Hold on. If we swap, it works. Right? Okay, hold on. We'll do a actual right marker this time. There you go. Looks like we're finally understanding the culprit's message. In other words, the culprit's telling us to try and solve the riddle of that epitaph grandfather had made. Yeah, it's weird. I could probably change that, but it's something that would come up so infrequently that I don't know if I care to find out how. You know. On top of that, they're saying that if we just sit around, they'll keep collecting the interest. I realize this is all based on several guesses that are way out there. But not everything that happens in this world fits together in a perfect line. You know, there are just things in life that sometimes you can't explain, that just don't have an explanation, except for the occult or magic and the supernatural. Those. Not those. I'm talking about real things that you just can't explain, not unexplainable things. Totally different. It's not UFOs, it's swamp gas. Swamp gas, that thing that is a unproven, unphotographed, undocumented phenomenon that just happens to be the Earth naturally using gas to replicate what looks like UFOs. I'm not saying I'm a UFO person. I am saying that swamp gas is the stupidest explanation for anything ever. Yeah, we don't really know what the swamp gas does, but it just does a thing that just makes it look... It does that. It just does that the UFO thing. Just is fine. Like... yeah. Swamp gas fucking always got me. Swamp gas is an unexplainable phenomenon that just happens to be perfectly natural and explain away this thing. Like, but we don't know how, why, or what. Like, come on, at least say ball lightning, which is a documented natural phenomenon. Yeah, yes, correct. Ball lightning, which is an actually documented phenomenon that just happens to have, we don't know how that works. We know it happens. We know it's a thing that does occur. Rarely. Yeah, the connection was spot on. Perfection. We both hit the 6s on our synchronized roll and just... Most of the events we don't understand are only individual points. By fitting them into a straight line, we're beginning to understand. When the points at either end of the line are really close, the line itself is more logical and easier to understand. And when those points are really far away, the opposite is true. It is the distance between those points that makes us say our guesses are way out there. However, if the distance we span are too narrow, that means our thinking will be narrow too. On this flat Earth, yes, yeah. That's why the lightning has to be round, to contrast with the flatness of the Earth. Obviously. Is there a difference between making guesses and reasoning? Am I just using easily made guesses to try to force this crime into a pattern I can understand? No, that's not it. When you're lost in the dark and searching around with your hands, what you're doing is relying on your imagination and making guesses. Also, hey Fear, how's it going? Welcome to Viperland in chat. Only imagination can find the points that need to be tied together. Reasoning is nothing more than the act of drawing lines between them. If you can't imagine, you can't reason. What I'm doing now might be way out there, but I'm sure it isn't a mistake either. Only the power of imagination can pull clues from the darkness. And then I can use the power of reasoning to tie those clues together. It was a lot like the process of searching out an enemy's weak spot and striking. It's okay if I'm way out there. Find a weak point first. Then we can think about how to strike. Right now is the time to find points we can tie together later. Hell yeah. 7-stream streak. Congrats. Story. For the time being, I put aside whether a 19th person existed, and announced our theory that the goal of the culprit might have been to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph. Imagine killing 6 people to try to motivate someone to solve a riddle. Uncle Hideyoshi seemed to be extremely interested, but Aunt Natsui said it was ridiculous and dismissed it. Of course. If you think about it that way, even the letter from yesterday makes sense. I imagine it. Yeah. That motive seems to fit pretty well with the facts. Setting aside whoever it was that gave Maria-chan the letter. Ooh. Beatrice exists. Ah. No quotes for her. For her in personality. Also, ooh. Even though she was puffing up her cheeks in that cute way she'd been doing since yesterday, I couldn't think of it as cute. If I poked fun at her, she might suddenly transform into a creepy laugh. There is no hidden gold. However, if the culprit is blindly sure of its existence, and if they're trying to make us solve the riddle before snatching the gold away for themselves, then I will agree it makes sense. However, if that were the case, why would they start by killing those most highly ranked in the Ushiromiya family? I see your point. If they wanted to make us solve the riddle, killing those closest to Kinzo-san doesn't sound like a good plan to me. That's true enough. And if we were going with that argument, wouldn't it have been quicker to threaten father in the first place? You'd think it'd be faster to just ask the person who wrote it, rather than try to force us to solve it. You've got a point there. Still, I think it'd take more than your average threat to make father spill the beans. Anyone who knows Kinzo-san well would probably realize that he won't bow to ordinary threats. He's the man who bears responsibility for the Uchinomiya family and all its vast wealth. He's been exposed to many threats and attacks in the past. The family only prospers today because he was able to overcome all of them. That's freaking right. I can't even imagine our grandfather obeying someone because of a threat. Yeah, think of how much they were threatening him to leave that room, and it wasn't going to matter. Jessica, watch your language. Yes, Mom. In that case, what about this idea? It's true, it's the only one he listens to. What about this idea? No, wait. Is this one also way out there? I couldn't hesitate. Out there ideas are like bows and arrows. They might be hard to hit with, but it's a great weapon because you can hit enemies far away. Sure. They say most people who've died in battles were killed by arrow wounds. In a battle, you can't just shoot off one arrow. You shoot a whole bunch of arrows at once, pushing forward towards the enemy troops with a wall of them. So keep shooting over and over again. Create a wall as you push forward towards the truth. If the culprit is after the hidden gold, forcing us to solve the riddle wouldn't be very efficient for them. It would be much quicker and easier to ask the person who made it in the first place. In that case, the question is this all a message directed at grandfather? In other words, these murders were a threat made against grandfather. If he didn't tell the culprit where the gold was, his family members would be killed off one by one. What if we weren't the only ones being forced to solve this riddle? What if grandfather was too? If you think about it that way, it explains grandfather's mysterious disappearance. If the culprit already attacked grandfather, then judging by the state of the 6 corpses were left in, he should have been left on display somewhere with that horrible makeup added. But despite that, we still haven't found him. So, does that mean grandfather has been kidnapped and is being held somewhere? How could you? You aren't saying. How could? Giggle. Giggle. That sounds interesting. So, grandfather is being confined somewhere. And the culprit's saying will be killed off one by one if he doesn't tell them where the gold is. It pains me to imagine how you find that interesting. Aunt Natsuhi glared at her, but Aunt Ava just smiled calmly. Since we still haven't seen him after all this time, I think it's almost certain that grandfather's gotten caught up in the crime. If you think about it, you can't just ignore Badara-kun's theory, right? Be quiet, George. In the first place, when did father actually disappear? Who was the last person to see father? It was probably me. Yeah, it was probably her. This morning, when we didn't know where my husband and the rest were, we decided to discuss the possibility of them being in father's study. And I went to check his room and greeted him there. Come to think of it, I've been holding the key to his study this whole time, haven't I? Genji, let me return this to you. Aunt Natsui pulled out the golden key and handed it to Genji. Looking at the key, Aunt Eva giggled. Hey, Genji-san. I'm sure the police will inspect Father's room thoroughly. If there's anything hidden there, it'll just be exposed anyway. So maybe it'd be better if you just told us about it right here, right now. What are you talking about? It's simple. Father's study is a closed room, with no way in or out except for that key, right? I want to verify whether that's true. There's one entrance to Father's study. What about the window? Any other entrances or exits? There are none. There's no way to get in except the entrance. You sure about that? There isn't some secret hidden door or anything? Since Father isn't here, I am the highest ranking member of the Ushiromiya family. I'm asking you as a representative of the Ushiromiya family head. Remember that when you answer me. Are there any ways in or out of that room other than the main entrance? As Father's closest aide, I'm sure you would know. Aunt Natsui looked a little offended at that part about the highest-ranking family member, but she kept her mouth closed for the time being and waited for Genji's answer. I couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. Why was she going on and on about hidden doors? You too, Kanon-kun, Kumasawa-san. If you know, won't you tell me? If there is one, it'd be better if you said so. Otherwise, a certain person might be driven into a corner in a second. If we assume that there's a hidden door, then my argument comes to nothing. Aunt Eva didn't specify which person was about to be driven to a corner. But following the flow of the conversation, I had to feel that she was referring to Aunt Natsui. Mother, what are you talking about? George, stay quiet for a bit. What do you say? Genji-san, Kanon-kun, or Kumasawa-san? Is there a hidden door? Or not? Genji-san, when you remodeled Father's study, you must have overseen the construction. I won't let you say you don't know. There's nothing like that in the master study. You're sure? What about Kanon-kun, one who's allowed to wear the one-winged angel, eagle? That's right. I'm sure. There's no such hidden door in the master study. But no, I haven't heard of such a thing. What about Dr. Nanjo? You've had a close relationship with Father. I've never heard of something like that. Very well then. So, are you ready? Let me begin. Very simple. Everyone tilted their heads doubtfully, wondering what Aunt Eva was starting to talk about so proudly. Aunt Eva laughed triumphantly as though she were about to reveal a secret only she knew. Man, I am really sorry, but I think I gotta call it. I'm starting to actually doze off, and that's not good. I don't know why I'm so tired tonight. I really don't. I really wanted to make it as far as I could. 10 o'clock's about what I got, so I didn't want it to be nothing. But right about here is probably about where I gotta just rest up. Putting you to sleep with the bullshit. No, I'm super interested. I really do enjoy this. It's a separate, I'm tired. And it didn't really hit me till a little before stream. And I was like, no, I'll push through. And this is about as far as I'm pushing. So we're going to save. We do have the new best sound effect. Like, it's a fun sound effect to have, but it is the perfect sound effect for the playthrough of this game. Like, people can use it in other games, and that's fine. Like, I wouldn't say don't do that. But it's just not the same as using it here. Like, always forget it shatters glass. Yeah, sorry for the slightly shorter stream. I think I'll put it in the Discord. I didn't see if anybody typed anything in general, but I'm gonna say commit to the PoE tomorrow, because I want to make sure when we do try that boss in Nevergrave that we really can, like, you know, give it our all. So I think we'll commit, and yeah, I think, and it's still like PoE weekend. Potts has got the hype. I want to lean into it while Potts has got the hype too. So, yeah. So that Monday, Tuesday, State of Play Tuesday. I won't stream it, but we'll be in Discord for it. Unless I'm watching it with Calico and Afro. I'll be around for it. Even if I'm not in Discord, I'll be typing in Discord on my phone. I want to say Thursday, Path of Exile. I'm not really sure. Friday, Cards. I'm going to watch the State of Play, like I'm going to watch the VOD of the State of Play when I get back. But I hope you all enjoy it while I'm there. 7:20 tonight, no buffers. Okay. It just seems unlike last week's 140 with buffers. It's fair, and I'm sure it might be better. But it's just my excuse to get more Path of Exile in there anyway. So, you know. Yeah, so probably some more Path of Exile this week. I do want to see if I can get a character to mapping and do some of that. The next game that will be starting for non-Sundays will be Library of Ruina. I just don't know exactly when I'll start it. Maybe next week. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to start that, but that will be the next one. But yeah, we got ourselves a monster, a quote, a Discord, and hit it with a... Cool. That works. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. This has been Viper of Viperland. I'm going to go get some sleep now. Good night.